Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are looking at something huge, this massive reorganization that's happening across, well, pretty much every sector. The integration of generative AI. I mean, we're seeing these fundamental changes in healthcare, education, finance, even government.
Everyone is racing.
Everyone is racing.
Yeah.
But the thing that really stood out from our sources, the central insight, is that this isn't really a technology problem.
No, not at its core.
It's a people challenge,
Yeah.
a change management challenge. The leaders who are actually going to win in this new era are the ones who can guide their teams through this really turbulent transition.
Exactly.
So for this deep dive, we've focused on what feels like the ultimate roadmap for this. Our sources take John Kotter's classic 8 steps for leading change and apply it directly to GenAI adoption.
It's a perfect framework.
Our mission today is to synthesize that blueprint for you, the steps you need to make this whole thing sustainable, ethical, and actually impactful.
And it's great because it shifts the focus. We stop talking about, what features to install, and we start talking about why the culture and the communication have to evolve for any of that to matter.
Right.
We're looking at the sequence you need to make GenAI feel organic, something people want, not just another mandate from the top. It's about moving fast, but thoughtfully.
Okay, so let's get into it. The first 3 steps are all about laying that foundation.
The preparation.
Precisely. Kotter's model starts with the ignition.
Right.
Step 1, create a sense of urgency. And the sources are so clear on this. Complacency is the #1 killer of any big transformation. You can't sit still anymore.
The pace is just too fast.
Yeah, change is not optional. Urgency is the fuel. And the data is staggering.
Oh, it is.
Companies using GenAI are reporting, 30 to 50% productivity gains in repetitive tasks?
30 to 50%.
Think about that. That's not a small gain. That is completely disruptive to business models that have been around for decades.
And that kind of data, it lights a fire, but you have to be careful. As a leader, you have to balance that urgency with a deep sense of empathy.
Because the immediate reaction is fear.
Exactly. Fear. People think this will eliminate my job or, it'll devalue the skills I've spent years building. If you just push the data, you get pushback.
You get that silent resistance.
Yes. So the smart way to communicate is with honesty. You have to address those fears directly. Emphasize job transformation, not just replacement.
So how do you do that?
You share the objective data. You show them the competitor adoption curves. You show them point blank the inefficiency in the current processes. If you don't show the real danger of doing nothing, GenAI just stays in a tiny little pilot project forever.
It never scales.
Never.
Okay, so you've lit the fire. Now you need the right people to guide it. That's step 2. Build a guiding coalition.
Right. And this goes back to your first point. This is an organizational project. It is not just an IT project.
You need champions, not just technicians.
That's it, exactly. And the coalition has to be diverse. That diversity is what prevents failures down the line.
Yeah.
You need your senior leaders for buy-in, sure. You need department heads who get the workflows, tech specialists. But you also need HR.
HR is crucial here.
Crucial. And you need those influential people on the front lines, the early adopters who are actually excited.
So what does this team actually do?
They're like the organization's immune system. They advocate for the vision. They model what ethical usage looks like. They help design the training. I mean, think about it. If you don't have HR in that room, you could roll out an AI tool that has automated bias in it.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly you have a massive legal and ethical problem that stops the whole transformation cold.
So the coalition prevents that kind of fragmentation, where one department is all in and another is just secretly ignoring it.
Yes, they ensure alignment.
Okay, so you have the right team. Then move on to step 3. Form a strategic vision and roadmap. This is where you get specific, right? What problem does this solve? For who? How do we measure success?
And this is where our sources really get into the weeds, because they stress that the classic tools we use for this, they have to be accelerated.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the vision needs to be robust, not just some aspirational poster on the wall. The material points to 3 key analyses. First is a SWOT analysis.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, standard stuff.
Kind of. But with GenAI, your data governance suddenly becomes either your biggest strength or your most fatal weakness. It changes the whole calculus.
Okay.
Second, PESTEL analysis, political, economic, social. But in the age of AI, The legal and societal risks around deepfakes, copyright, data hallucinations, they're changing so fast you can't do this once a year.
So you have to do it more often.
You have to run it quarterly, at least, just to
Yeah.
keep up. The analysis itself has to accelerate.
That's a really interesting point. The analysis has to match the speed of the tech.
Precisely. And the third tool is scenario planning.
Yeah, best case, worst case.
Exactly. You have to imagine the high-value outcomes, like that 50% productivity gain. But you also have to stare down the worst case. A catastrophic data breach, huge regulatory fines, losing customer trust because of an AI error. You can't build a real roadmap if you're not willing to look at that.
So at the end of step 3, you have a vision that's simple enough for everyone to get, but strong enough to actually guide decisions.
That's the goal.
Okay, that clarity lets us move into mobilizing people. Step 4, enlist a volunteer army. The idea being that you can't just force this top down.
No, it never works.
I need people who actually want to be part of it.
Yes, and that means you need tailored communication, segmentation. You can't motivate a coder, a sales rep, and a nurse with the same generic message about efficiency.
It has to speak to them directly.
It has to. Let's take some examples. An educator isn't motivated by IT metrics. They're motivated by seeing better student engagement.
Right.
A healthcare worker, they see value when AI reduces their administrative paperwork, freeing them up for actual patient care. And for an engineer, GAI can take away the boring boilerplate coding. It lets them focus on the big, complex architectural problems. That's a much more motivating goal.
So you're showing them how AI makes their specific job better, not just faster.
That's the key.
But even with a motivated army, you're going to hit roadblocks. Which brings us to step 5, enable action by removing barriers. This is where the rubber meets the road, isn't it?
This is where the real change happens.
We know the common barriers: lack of skills, job anxiety, bad data, bureaucracy that just stops everything.
Yeah,
But let me push back on this a bit.
go for it.
Isn't the single biggest barrier just that people don't have time?
Yeah.
How do you get around that without just adding another mandate to an already overworked team?
That is the essential challenge. And the source material addresses it by stressing the need for transparent feedback loops. You're right. Low adoption isn't always about resistance. It's often about capacity.
So how do you figure out which it is?
You use systematic tools. You stop making assumptions. You use things like a fishbone diagram or, my favorite, the 5 whys technique.
Okay, walk me through that.
Sure, let's apply it to your time problem or low adoption. Barrier. Low GenAI adoption. Why? 1. Employees say they don't trust the output. Okay, why? 2. The tool keeps giving them inaccurate data or hallucinations. Why? 3. The AI was trained on a narrow internal data set that's out of date. Why is that? 4. Well, the data governance process is super slow and requires manual cleaning. And finally, why? 5.
Because there's no dedicated engineering team responsible for maintaining that data pipeline.
Wow. Okay, that's powerful.
Right.
Because suddenly the problem isn't lazy employees. The barrier is a structural data issue that IT needs to fix, not HR.
Exactly. You tackle the obstacles that have the biggest negative impact first. And often that means fixing a broken policy or a technical problem, not just running another training seminar. This is where people start to feel supported, not forced.
Okay, so the barriers are coming down, people feel enabled. Now you need to show it's all working. Step 6, generate short-term wins. Yes, and these cannot be accidental. Kotter says they have to be designed intentionally from the very beginning.
They're psychological anchors for everyone who's still skeptical.
And they must be measurable. You have to be able to prove it's working. The material gives great examples, like a 30% reduction in administrative processing time.
That's a real number you can show people.
A real number. Or a successful pilot in a call center that handles 15% of simple queries on its own. Or, improving onboarding with AI-generated materials that save the training team thousands of hours.
So what are the criteria for a good win?
They need to be public, so everyone sees them. They have to be measurable, like we said. They should be frequent enough to keep the energy up. And they absolutely must be celebrated.
With visible rewards for the volunteer.
Yes, that's what builds the narrative that this is working, and it boosts morale.
But there's a danger here, right?
Yeah.
We celebrate that first win, and then we think we're done.
That is the danger zone.
That's why step 7, sustained acceleration, is so critical. GenAI isn't a one-year project where you declare victory. Complacency creeping back in kills more of these things than any tech failure.
It really does. To keep the momentum, the focus has to shift to scaling. You document what worked in those short-term wins, you automate those processes to lock in the gains, and you keep measuring.
And updating the rules.
Constantly updating the governance and ethical frameworks because the tech and the risks are evolving so fast. This is how you move from a cool experiment to an enterprise-wide capability. You're building discipline.
And that discipline brings us to the final goal. Step 8. Institute change.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it becomes part of the company's DNA, right? It's in the culture, the standard operating procedures, the policies, even how you hire and evaluate people.
This is how you future-proof the organization. You're training future leaders who are native to this way of working, and you're making sure the entire change at the end of the day is about one thing: what satisfies the customer.
That's a great point.
When AI becomes just inseparable from how you serve customers or develop products or hire talent, the transformation is irreversible. It's just how we work now.
So if we were to synthesize this whole blueprint, what are the core attributes of a successful GenAI-led organization?
Well, they move quickly but thoughtfully. They're fueled by real data about the cost of standing still.
Right.
They lead with empathy, addressing fears with concrete plans. They empower a diverse volunteer army by actually removing the real barriers. And they embed the change by tying it to customer value and changing their core systems, like hiring.
And if you're the listener, the learner, this connects right back to your own career. The ability to use a proven framework like this to lead AI-driven change, that is probably the most valuable leadership skill of the 21st century.
I don't think that's an exaggeration. It doesn't matter what sector you're in.
The sources really confirm it. The question isn't if GenAI will reshape your organization anymore. It will. The question is whether you will master guiding people through that change, or if you'll just be struggling to catch up.
So maybe the challenge for you listening now is to look at your own organization and ask, of these 8 steps, which one poses the biggest, most immediate threat to your success?
Is it the lack of clear analysis in step 3?
Or is it the failure to really dig in with the 5 whys and find the true barrier in step 5? Wherever that weakness is, that's where your attention needs to go next.